Hi, everyone. We'll start in just a few minutes. So if you can give us just a few more minutes, it would be awesome.
Hello, hello.
Hey, Shawna, what's up?
Hey, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. We'll start in just 2-3 minutes, just giving some people extra time to join us.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thanks.
Ooh, can I admit people?
Okay, I think I've stalled long enough and we should start. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, I got a yes. Awesome. What's up with the chat? It's 8:30. You're supposed to be live yet. Give me some yeses. Give me some highs. Where's everyone? Hi. Thank you. Awesome. So, shalom lekulam and hayush. It's been such a long time since I got to see you all. We had a few physical events in Israel, and I'm so sorry I couldn't join them. So it's awesome to meet you virtually again. Just before I give away the stage to Shawna, I want to do a quick recap and tell you more about our community, especially if it's the first time that you're joining us. So let's start. Welcome to Startup Designers. If you're not familiar with us, we're a design community. Most of us are located in Israel. And I just want to share a bit about who we are and what we do. And before I do that, I would also like to ease your mind and make sure that everyone knows this session is being recorded. So if you have something on the stove and you have to leave early or any other reason, don't worry, you're gonna find the recording to this session in our Facebook, where we're currently streaming live. Hi, Facebook. And in our website at startupdesigners.co. So, as I mentioned, I want to share with you some of the amazing women behind the community and what we do. Other than myself, we have Ina, Michal, Ishai, and Noah. So a bit of what we have our Instagram page managed by Lishai, and our Instagram page is all about just inspiration, highlighting Israeli designers that we think the world should know more about, sharing amazing content, sharing inspirational quotes, and just a place to kind of gather our own smaller Israeli community in a new area or a new place. So today, when you hear some of the amazing content that you're going to hear in just a few minutes, feel free to tag us, tag Intuit, tag Shawna and Joachim. We'll all really appreciate it. We also have our newsletter. It's you can find the link to it at our Facebook community. It's currently on a short leave. It will be back soon, but you can also find all of the links to the previous newsletters there, and you can obviously subscribe. I should mention it is in Hebrew. I think it's worth Google Translate, but maybe in the future we'll have an American version of it or an English version of it, so stay tuned. And we have our mentorship program. So the mentorship program is really one of the most biggest lights that we have in the community. It's something we're very proud of. We have over 100 mentors that we work with. This is something that Ina manages, and she is doing just a terrific, amazing job. And the community is all about really helping each other, helping other designers grow, and helping the design profession grow in Israel in general. So yeah, if you're interested in learning more about the mentorship program, it's currently closed off for new mentees just because it's a bit overbooked. But we're always happy to hear about new mentors. And once we have the capacity, we would like to give you information and see if it fits you. So again, feel free to reach out to Ina. You can find her again in our Facebook community, and she'll be happy to give you more details. Cool. So with that said, I want to introduce our two amazing speakers for today, Joachim and Shawna. And by the way, I do apologize if I'm saying your name not correctly. So Shawna is a design manager. She's based on Mountain View, California. She's been in Intuit for over 6 years now, and she had the opportunity of learning how to be a good designer and a good leader in Intuit. She enjoys getting other teams together to solve customer problems. And when she's not working, she just like hanging out with her family, cooking, and doing a nerdy thing about mid-century modern. And our next speaker would be Joachim, and he's in Intuit for 4 years. He started as a researcher, and after making a jump from the academic career and dabbing in consultancy life. Besides the many deep friendships, the best part of the multi-year adventure has been working in collaborative environment where designers play a truly leading role in shaping a vision of major products from end to end. Joachim is also based in San Francisco, California, and other than work, you can find him cycling and just enjoying the amazing view. One more thing that I'd like to share with you before I truly give the stage. You're going to hear 2 stories from people working in Intuit. And if you've been in our community for a few years now, you know it's something we don't usually do. We usually try to bring people from different companies and bring different perspectives. But this time it felt like it makes sense to bring 2 speakers from the same company, especially because Intuit has such an interesting and advanced point of view around design culture and design processes. So I do want to highlight that I was informed they are hiring in Israel, and Idan Segev is on the call today. Is going to be in charge of that. So if you're interested in joining Intuit Israel, there's lots of new opportunities there, and I would just suggest reaching out to Idan. I'm sure you can find him in Facebook, and Idan, feel free to share your content in the chat. Yeah, and it seems like an amazing opportunity. So I hope our community would be a good place to come around that as well. Okay, so that's it for me. I'm going to stop my share and let's learn from you guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the great intros. Everybody hang tight while I share my screen and we'll dive in. Okay, can I get a thumbs up if we're all looking at my deck, not my computer desktop? Amazing. Amazing. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so thanks so much for the great intro. Joachim and I are super excited to be here today. What we're going to talk about is how design plays a strategic role in the product development process by deeply understanding customers, deeply understanding the technology that we're well positioned to deliver, crafting experiences around both, then partnering with business leaders to bring the right experiences to market. Before we dive into all of that, we were going to start with some intros, but because we've already sort of done that, I will just call out that we have Ryan Zarowski and Adan Segev in the audience. I'd like to throw it over to you just to say hello quickly, and then we'll get right into the content.
Oh, sorry, it's on me. I didn't give them co-host abilities. We can do that quickly.
Oh, okay.
While she's doing that, I'll just say, Cher, thank you so much. You're worried about my name, or maybe it was Shawna's name. No one in the US can pronounce the ch or the Joachim in my name. And so a call full of Israelis is like perfect for me, you know, because no one has an issue with that. So this is great.
Idan, you have co-host abilities.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for the intro, and I see a lot of familiar faces in the crowd. So hi everybody. I will soon be joining Intuit as the head of design here in Israel. So if you find this inspiring, feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn or any other social platform, and just we can take it from there. Chat. We'll have tons of open positions soon. And enjoy the talk.
Cher, can you unmute Ryan Zarowski for a moment?
Yeah, sorry, I made the wrong person co-host. Ryan, you can speak now.
Oh, great. Thank you. And thanks for having us. We're really excited to be here today. Hey, everybody. My name is Ryan Zarowski. I'm a design director at Intuit, and I lead we work in the small business division of Intuit, and I lead our portfolio of financial services products. And really excited for Joachim and Shawna to share some stories about how we think about design and being strategic and having impact within our company. And hopefully you can take away a couple useful takeaways that will change the way maybe you think about things with your company or your team. Thanks again for having us.
Awesome. Thanks guys for hopping in with the quick intros. Now that we're all best friends, I'll just reiterate exactly what Ryan said. We really do hope that through the stories we're sharing today, you'll take with you from this webinar some insights that will help inform how you partner day to day and drive strategy with your cross-functional partners. Okay, so let's start a little bit at the beginning and what it really means to be design driven. At Intuit, every employee thinks like a designer. Design thinking is just how we solve problems. It's not limited to your functional role. So if you're in HR, if you're in customer success, if you're a product manager, whoever you are, design thinking is our approach. It's in our company DNA, and it's actually how our company Intuit came to be. About 35 years ago, maybe more, our founder, Scott Cook, saw his wife sitting at their kitchen table, struggling to manage the family finances with pen and paper. When he saw her doing this, he knew there had to be a better way. Not long after, Scott saw customers using the product he developed for his wife, using the product that he developed for his wife in what we would call a weird way. Customers were essentially hacking the product to keep track of their small business finances. And this is where our flagship product for small business, QuickBooks, was invented. To this day, we still go out into the field to visit customers and see how they do things. This is just a quick and dirty photo from a site visit with some folks at a small IT business in Toronto. Fast forward 35 years, Intuit employs over 10,000 people and serves over 7 million customers worldwide. QuickBooks is the go-to platform for small businesses. We have over 7 million customers, like I mentioned earlier, who use QuickBooks to run their accounting, to run payroll, to conduct business banking, and to get ready for tax time. Because we have all of this data in one place, QuickBooks really is the best possible platform to serve small businesses really, really well. Even though our business has evolved and changed and grown over the years, one thing hasn't changed, and that's design thinking. We still use design thinking every single day to solve problems. At Intuit, design drives strategy to deliver innovation by understanding the customer and the technology to deliver a meaningful experience. So this sounds maybe a little high level. I'll talk about what this means to designers really in our day-to-day lives. We start where Scott started with a customer. We think about customers in lots of different ways, but a way that you can think about them is think about the coffee shop you go to in the morning. Think about the contractor who does work on your house. Think about when you were a design consultant and you did some work and had to send a customer an invoice for the work you've done. These are all examples of small businesses, and their lives are super complicated. One of the things small businesses struggle with is cash flow. I'm going to tell you a little story just to kind of bring it all together, and hopefully it'll make a little more sense. So let's just say I'm Shawna, I'm a designer, and Joachim hired me to do some web design for him. Once I'm done with the design work, I'll send him an invoice for the work I've done. Now in the US, I can add a net 30 term, which basically means I'm going to send you this invoice. You have 30 days to pay me. You get to it when you get to it. So I send that off to him. And now I basically just hang out and I wait for him to pay me. Meanwhile, I have bills that I need to pay. I have a job coming up next week that I need to hire a contractor for. I have a lot going on. I have other customers I need to manage. You can imagine how if you take this one situation and you multiply it by 10 customers or 10 projects, how unpredictable my cash flow situation becomes. Because I'm not getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, because I'm running my own business, things are super unpredictable in terms of my cash flow. So let's just say, here I am. I've just sent Joachim the invoice. I'm waiting to get paid. I have 5 other unpaid invoices sitting in QuickBooks, but I need to hire that contractor for my job that I have coming up next week. What do? I don't have the money that I need to hire that contractor, but I still have to do the work. My options are pretty limited. I can either borrow from my friends and family. I could go to a big bank and pay crazy high rates for a loan, or just get denied altogether. Or worse, I could just lose the job and maybe even go out of business. Because I'm a small operation, it's just me running things. My options are are bad and worse. This is why 5 years ago, QuickBooks decided to build a lending platform. And what I mean by that is we put together a best-in-class term loan offering for small businesses. Over the last 5 years, we've built an amazing term loan capability. We've funded over 30,000 small business term loans, which means we've put over $900 million into the hands of small business customers who otherwise wouldn't have had the money they needed to keep their lights on and to keep their business growing, maybe even to start their business. So let's just stop there and throw a curveball into the mix. Let's say I'm a customer who just sent Joachim the invoice. I still have the big job coming up. I still need to hire that contractor, but I'm deathly afraid of the idea of taking out a $40,000 loan. The idea of credit scares me, and I don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. What do? Well, I go find a company outside of QuickBooks that will actually let me take little micro loans against those unpaid invoices that I have in QuickBooks. So instead of taking out a big $40,000 loan, I can actually take out 4 or 5 smaller loans. So one for 2,000, one for 500, and I can bring these all together to have a little extra cash in my account to hire that contractor. The crazy thing about this is that you're essentially doing exactly what you would do with taking out a term loan. You're borrowing against yourself, but it just feels a lot less scary to people to take out these small mini loans than it does to take out a big one. So where does this leave us? This leaves us in a place where design can come in and do what it does best. We deeply understand the customer behavior. They're creating this workaround for themselves because they're afraid of debt. They're taking out little mini loans. We deeply understand the technology that we're able to deliver. We built a best-in-class lending capability. And we're design. We have the superpower to bring these two things together and craft a meaningful experience around them. So what did our design team do? Well, we thought, we've got the customer, we've got the technology. Let's take that friction out of going to a different company and getting a little mini loan, and let's just integrate it right in QuickBooks. That way, when I go to send Joachim an invoice, I can finance it right then and there. So we tested it. We integrated invoice financing within QuickBooks, and you know what? It did pretty well. Customers who were already using those other companies to finance their invoices, they were excited to see it in QuickBooks. It removed a lot of friction. But what was missing is that folks who weren't comfortable with debt still weren't comfortable with the idea of financing their invoices, even at the little tiny scale, even right in QuickBooks. So we iterated to test a second hypothesis. We thought, if we could reposition this idea of financing into getting paid up front for work that I've already done, borrowing against my future self, would that make the idea of taking on a loan less scary? Would it make it easier to accept by people who are afraid of taking on debt? And what we found is that this completely changed how people think about invoice financing. It now just felt like a bonus feature of using QuickBooks to send invoices. What this is and what this means for us is basically just a fascinating exercise in design thinking, because in the background, you have one capability. You have the ability to give someone, a small business, a term loan. But on the customer-facing experience, you have two very different things. In one, I'm taking out a loan. In another, I'm just getting money that I've either already earned or I'm about to earn a little earlier than I would have otherwise. And this is what's so great about design and the power of design. If we weren't close to customers, we wouldn't have understood the fear that they felt associated with debt. We wouldn't have been able to iterate to come up with the second test and create something that was really meaningful. And we're just so excited to be able to have played this role on this project. It's just one story of how design drives innovation at Intuit. Joachim is going to tell us another story, and I'll turn it over to him.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Shawna. I'm going to just give us a moment. We're going to switch screens here so that I can click at my own crazy pace. All right, 1 second. All righty. Shawna, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I got an eye on time, guys. And so I'll try to take 10, 15. I'll go a little bit fast. And so if there's confusion, we'll resolve it in the discussion section afterwards. So I just want to pile on top of Shawna's story and tell a different kind of story. And so before I even do that, I just want to remind everyone that we're talking about real people here, people that we love and care about, who are brilliant, that we have fun with every day. And I just wanted to show you some of who these people are. And so the story I'm going to tell in just a moment is about these humans that you see in front of you. Just one of the project rooms we have in one of our offices. Everyone was gathered in. It was a little bit sweaty. You know, people having their food and coffee. And this is actually a really fun mix of a full cross-functional team. So product managers, designers, engineers at multiple levels, trying to figure out early versions of the product that I'm going to tell you about in just a moment. And I'll just throw another picture in here along the way. This is where we were talking about a new home screen center for managing cash flow, which I'll get into in just a second. So I just wanted to show you that these stories are real people. It's not just pretty slides. And I'll jump right into it. So a common situation that many designers experience, I'm sure almost everyone here has experienced some version of this, is the following. They run into a situation where there's a solution looking for a problem, and that either happens because of new technology or that happens because of new market pressure or something else, right? So engineering comes up with like something really cool, and it is cool, and they're like, we need to ship this because, you know, blockchain X is cool, so let's do it. And you might be thinking like, gosh, do our customers need X cool technology? Like, what does that even mean? Or from the business side, there's some big pressure, some competitive market, new features coming out. And they say, we need X. And we're like, where's the demand for X in our customer base, like our humans that we create products for? And this happens all the time, right? The typical unhappy response, like if you've been designing a long time or you like listen to design, you redesign blogs and that kind of thing, is this is very frustrating. The company is doing X and we have to make it look pretty. Right. And so the whole history of design, of course, is trying to move away from just this kind of role into something where you drive strategy. The story I want to tell you about is fortunately a different kind of response to this situation. And it's a strategic response. It's where this context from the technology or from the business or both together is an opportunity. And design steps up and says, this is cool. So now let's help the organization understand how to deliver for our customers in the right way. So how do we take whatever this competitive inspiration is, or this technology inspiration is, and let's deliver in a way that actually makes sense for our customers and empower the organization. So that's the story I want to tell. Here is a context, the business and technology context that happened in our case. So the first is the technology context. Basically, it was an earthquake for banking in the small business community. So some of you may have already seen consumer banking, so banking for you and me, has really improved a lot over the last few years. Like you can get a pretty cool digital experience. You never even have to walk into a brick building somewhere. That's why we put this image in the background, just to give the sense of like, you don't have to go in there and talk to some old stodgy person. You can just go online, some pretty cool experiences. And some of these apps for people like you and me, just a consumer, have some really cool features. Like if you're the kind of person who just really wants to, let's say, donate extra aspects of your income or round off every shekel or something, and donate to like a green foundation. We're seeing all these issues with the environment reports these days. There's probably a banking app for you to do that, and they have the option in there. It's very, they can create something like that. Until very recently, the small business world for banking has totally been behind those kinds of experiences. They're not nearly as good. Typically, they've been very, very bad, actually. It's a really bad experience. It's a bad experience. It's not a digital experience usually. It's expensive. You have to walk into a store, or you walk into a bank branch. It's not fun at all, especially if you're like, just starting a business. You're not like, you don't have a banking or a finance arm that handles that for you. So the earthquake that I'm talking about in this area has been the invention of a new technology. In simple terms, it's called BaaS. So just remember the BaaS word. It means banking as a service. But what that basically has done, it has allowed non-bank companies to do banking things. And that's amazing because you can be a technology company that doesn't care about banking. You're not trying to be a bank necessarily. You want to create amazing digital experiences, and you have amazing designers and engineers and product managers to do that. And you can now create a banking experience with amazing digital experience. So what we're seeing in the last few years now is that a few tech companies want to make these experiences really amazing and find ways to include it into the rest of their tools that they make for small businesses and contractors, the kind of story that Shawna was telling earlier. So this was the technology context, and we experienced this at Intuit. The leadership was like, God, this is amazing. We should do this. This is really cool. And there's also a business context. Intuit has been a really, really sturdy business for 30 plus years. And every 5 or 10 years, we face a big threat where everything is changing and we need to figure out how to work with that change. And the most recent one has to do with the fact that so many other businesses are making their way into our space. And our space is to be this one-stop financial data platform for a small business owner. Really easy to use, manage your finances as a small business owner. And the problem is we're getting companies that we never thought of as competitors before, trying to get into our space and own all the data that you need to create a great experience. It's like, we never thought of ourselves as competing with Shopify or Bluevine, like these other kind of smaller companies. We thought of ourselves as competing with accounting companies. And on this page, there's only one accounting company. There's all these other companies trying to own the transaction data so they can create a financial platform. So that's a big problem for Intuit. When our leadership saw that there's this banking opportunity, the technology had changed. That was very important because it means if we can be the bank, that means that we don't have to ask other companies for the transaction information. We have it. We can create the insights. We can create an amazing experience for small businesses. So that was the technology context and the business context. And what was really cool is that our design culture and our design team was able to give design a key role in shaping how we would respond to this technological change and to this business imperative. And that's how things work typically at Intuit. Design's role in general is to create experiences that meet unmet customer need. So it has to be real. It can't just be pushing technology into the world or solving a business problem. We have to be able to do it well. We're not going to create crap experiences. And it has to make our company stronger so that we can keep doing these things and keep delivering them. So in the case of this whole banking thing, design stepped up and said, we will figure out what's going to be meaningful. We'll lead the way. We'll lead the initiative to make it meaningful. So a couple of things happened. The first is the design team, the folks that I showed you in the picture earlier, they led a pretty amazing set of sprints where they brought in the PMs and the engineers, the potential marketing teams that were going to come together, and the rest of the design teams, and went out into the field. And we were talking to all sorts of small businesses. We were reading like financial guru books to figure out what should banking really be for a small business owner or a self-employed contractor. And it was super fun and energizing. Everyone got together, and design was leading the way. And we started observing some really weird stuff that we didn't expect. And this is an example on the left of a small business owner named Wadria. And on the right were some artifacts we found when we were talking to small business owners of different folders. And the thing that we noticed was that small business owners hated budgeting. They know they need to do it, but it's very difficult to keep up with it. And so sometimes they would simplify their money management by doing something that we often see consumers do, like in the old days, like maybe your grandmother did it by putting money in envelopes and like storing it under the bed. Like that's money for whatever. I'm not going to touch it in 6 months. It's an envelope. It's under the bed. And so we see digital analog versions. So digital version is people would store money over in Square. They'd store money on PayPal. They'd store money in one of the bank accounts, maybe another bank account. And they would just kind of assume, oh, that money is for X, that money is for Y, that money is for Z. Pay my contractor, pay my rent, pay my whatever. And they didn't really have to budget that much. They just look at their accounts and say, yeah, basically the money's there, that keeps it simple. And then on these folders on the right was the analog version. People actually, small business owners, creating a file folder system, and they put money in each one. It seems crazy, right? But that's the way they simplified their life, when they will lose track of their Excel sheets and have trouble keeping up with budgets. So this was an initial inspiration. And we took this and started to think about, how could we create just something better than a generic banking experience? What would be a useful way for Intuit, for QuickBooks, as a financial platform, to do banking in a way that starts to speak to this kind of customer need? And it's very exciting to be out there in a sort of a design-led sprint with all these other cross-functional partners saying, oh God, this is so weird, we never expected this. How can we use this to create an amazing digital experience that's different from every other new banking experience that's going to come out? The other thing that we did, besides actually getting out there and really experiencing the insights with the rest of the cross-functional team, was then finding a way to create a prototype experience, make it real for the rest of the company. And this is probably the most powerful thing that design can do, besides getting close to the customers and making sure that the company stays close to the customers, is to translate whatever those insights are, or surprises, into a vision for an experience that gives everyone energy all over again, right? It drives optimism, it drives courage to change the way you think about a problem. And so just a couple of things I wanted to show you here was, on the left, again, it's a cross-functional group. We managed to catch Orion here, make him look awkward in the picture, where we all got together and we were trying to figure out, how are we going to create an end-to-end experience for what banking really is all about for QuickBooks, for the customers that we know, not just let's do banking and hope it works. So we really brought the story together and brought a prototype to life. And there's an amazing set of meetings where much of the company's leadership was gathered together, and we're saying, this is where we're going. We've envisioned it and we've done it together. And then the other thing we did was envisioning a complete system, right? So it's not just, hey, banking technology, let's create banking. It's in the context of everything else we want to do as a platform that we know is the identity of who we are and who we want to deliver for. Let's start prototyping a full system where when we combine banking or combine invoicing, like Shawna talked about, or combine anything else on our platform, when you bring it together, it's much better than just selling a bunch of different financial products. It becomes a complete system that's far more elegant than hiring several different companies to do these kinds of things for you. And that was really the goal of having an end-to-end systems thinking, which design drives at Intuit. So that's something we're very proud of. We're very excited to share. I'll just say that this product is live now. So we shipped and we're growing fast and it's very exciting. So this isn't a vaporware story. It actually happened, and we're really excited about it. So just so you know it's real. I'll just close out really quick so we can jump to conversation. Just a few takeaways if you want to sort of set the stories aside. These are some things that are really important to us, near and dear to our hearts, and we hope maybe you find them helpful. And we think they're useful whether you're in an organization where you feel like design has a very healthy strategic role, or you're in a situation where you feel like you're still building that culture and still trying to win those kinds of relationships with your partners. So here are a few things. The first is that we found that wherever you are is a good place to start, right? So there's always going to be some sort of business context that's really interesting. There's going to be a technological context that's interesting, and you have the choice to seize them and lean into them and figure out how you're going to help the company manifest that into a product that is meaningful. And that can be hard sometimes, easy to be defensive of it, but sometimes it's the huge opportunity. And that's been the case for us. The other thing is, this is obvious to many of us, but sometimes we need to have the courage and be reminded of, again, help your teams experience the weirdness and excitingness of actual customers and actual customer behavior. And a lot of times that's, even if you talk to 1,000 customers, you find one more insight, and that gives you the core identity of a new product platform, or how to change direction when people can't figure out how to change direction. And again, that's related to having the courage for reframing where your product's at. So sometimes, like in my story, we have no idea what we're going to do. We have to create it from the ground up. And in Shawna's story, is a very strong product in one direction, and having to give the organization courage to take a turn because it's not working for a lot of customers, or they're working around the product. It's already a pretty successful product, so it's much harder to change the story in the company that way. So experiments, information, and optimism to do that reframe. And the last thing is, as designers, we have the amazing power of creating a future that actually seems real. It's not just a business document or a product requirements document or like a partnership strategy or something like that. It's actual vision of the future, whether it's a sketch or an envision prototype, or I guess Figma now, right? And so all these things are our superpowers. And I hope you found some of these stories interesting. So I think we're going to switch into some conversation for 15 minutes, if I'm correct. Yeah, maybe I'll just stop sharing so that you can see faces.
Yeah.
That was pretty fast. Thank you for, oh, sorry, so go ahead, John.
No, that was great. Thank you, Joachim. I was actually capturing some questions that started to pop up in the chat while you were presenting. So folks, go ahead and throw questions in there. I'll grab them, read them out, and we'll do our best to just start the conversation. The first one that I want to call out is, how do you communicate and solve the challenges of an international design team? Different cultures, time zones, etc. I would love to address this. Joachim, if you have anything to add on, I'll create space for that as well. But I think there's three things that came to mind immediately when I read that question. One is that we're officially a global design team. So we're making a huge investment into leaning into collaboration with our partners in Israel. The second thing I want to share, and this is really about, different cultures and things like that, is that what we actually just talked about was a shared culture of design thinking. And in my mind, this is something that when you join into it, you're just joining a community of like-minded designers, and it's a common language that we all speak. The third thing I'll say is this remote work situation has been challenging, but it's also had its benefits, and that it's really democratized how we work. We're all working remotely. We've proven that we can do this remote collaboration effectively, and we're really leaning into the new model. The team that I lead is actually distributed across Mountain View and Israel. The story we shared today, or the story I shared today about getting paid up front and the lending capability, that was actually a collaboration across the two teams. And what we do is we make sure very tactically to set up time that is best for both of our time zones. We do a lot of asynchronous collaboration on Figma. God bless Figma, because it's all in the cloud and we can work on the same file asynchronously. So I'll just say that, what may not have been possible a few years ago now is what just feels like a normal way of working. I actually saw Marav on the call. Hey, Marav. She's one of our designers in Israel. She's a good friend. She comes out and visits, and it's just been, it really hasn't been a problem. I love our partners in Israel. So that's what I have to say on that one. Joachim, do you have anything to add?
Very quickly, then we'll move to the next topic. I'll just add that the learning goes both ways, and that's been really exciting. And just to give a great example, and I hope someone chuckles at this, but one thing I love about, I visit family in Israel, and I've worked with, as our team has grown in Israel, and we've collaborated across borders. It's very clear that Israelis are ready to jump into it. They're ready to debate. They're ready to move fast, try something, and let's get it done. Let's figure it out. And sometimes it's fun for a team on our side to have that energy and that burst, and almost I don't know what the rules are, but come on, let's figure it out. Let's do something cool. And that's amazing, right? We want that kind of energy. And so I think culture is something that it's a collaboration also. And what I've seen on international teams in general, and you've probably experienced this too, is that international teams create their own sort of third culture, right? It's not Israeli, it's not US, it's not engineering or design. It becomes this other identity. And when it works well, it's pretty amazing because it's unique and it's owned. So that's been my experience. Great question though.
Love that. We have another question that came in recently around how designers have the agency to affect the company's roadmap. I think, Joachim, the story you shared was really demonstrative of us doing this, and that we had a solution looking for a problem. Sorry, I got that backwards. And the design team just said, hey, we're going to tell you what it means to have an awesome banking experience that's more than what you'd expect. Is there anything you'd want to sort of double click on in that?
Yeah, in a sense, so there's two sides of this. One is Intuit in general has a design culture, a general design culture, in the sense that even PMs and marketers and engineers, or even people in finance for that matter, are encouraged to think as designers, go talk to customers and that kind of thing. And they're not just encouraged, they do those things and they're part of the teams. And so in a sense, everyone's thinking that way. But then when it comes down to it, there's a profession that's an expert in that typically, right? In trying to map between technology and a business need. And actually what would make sense for a user or for a customer, and then find a way to actually show how that comes to life. And that's the design team, at least in our case, it's the design team. And so often what we'll see happening, I'll speak at a very broad level, but if we want some tactics, Shawna might be able to jump in. A lot of the definition, so we launch products at scale, right? This isn't like a small operation. We're looking to reach millions of people. And so a lot of times we'll start super broad where we're trying to define the idea behind a platform or the idea behind a product system that makes sense as far as we can imagine it making sense together, be integrated and be elegant. And there has to be a fundamental principle around why this makes sense for our customer base or a future customer base that we haven't gotten yet. And design often leads the way because it's so hard to have that flexibility and to think through that. And then we're bringing in the engineering teams and the PMs to think about where do we have, we'll say spike, like where do we have to spike from an engineering perspective to say like, do we go buy a company to make that happen? Do we create a new banking service on our own? Do we have to create a new, some kind of knowledge engine, data infrastructure to make that happen? Like what's going to happen? Obviously, then those teams will come back and say, well, here's the direction we can go from a technology perspective, and it becomes the dance, right? All the way down to we're scheduling out quarters and the work for actual screens and that kind of thing. So that's a general sense of how the process would go. And one of the nice things, just one of the reasons I like being into it, and this is not like a shameless plug, is that for the most part, there aren't that many assholes, right? Like there are a lot of companies where it's all about winning and throwing an elbow, whereas into it, there's just a lot of fun debate, right? And so anyways, I'll stop talking, but that's been my experience.
I think that resonates with me, and I would just like add maybe a couple of tactical things. I would say that absolutely designers affect the company's roadmap. I'm sure as you've all had experience working with cross-functional partners, there's this sort of chicken and egg situation. It's like, does the PM define the requirements and then designs against the requirements, or does the designer think about what could be an amazing customer experience, show it to a PM, and a PM says, okay, awesome, let's figure out what the requirements are. There's these different ways you can look at product development, and I think at Intuit, it's a true partnership. We usually work together as what we call a triad. So that's a product manager, a designer, and a product developer, so an engineer. And we sort of work together to go into that discovery phase and just understand, okay, what does the customer need? What technology do we have? How can we bring this to life in a way that is amazing? And we sort of figure out together like what an end state looks like for us. We call this an ideal state or a vision. So this is like, hey, what does the experience look like maybe a year from now? And then design and the triad together figure out if this is what awesome looks like for our customer a year from now, how do we work our way backwards? This is one of my favorite things to do with the triad, is like get really inspired about the big thing that we're going to deliver at the end of the fiscal year and figure out what we're going to do tomorrow to baby step our way to that outcome. So I know that was a little tactical, but 100% we have agency to impact the roadmap, and it's part of why I love working it Intuit. All right, let's see. Do we have any other questions coming through?
We're discussing exchange rates between the dollar and the shekel in the chat. It's a side conversation.
Amazing. Did we get to the bottom of it, or do we need a deep dive?
I think we solved it. Michal's got us.
Well,
I think there will be.
Sorry, go ahead.
Other questions, unless I missed ones in the chat. Tell us about bootcamp.
Okay, we have one. We have one about the boot camp, and we have one about how we plan to be profitable if we're not working as a bank. What is our business model?
Let's start with the boot camp. What is that referring to again, Shawna?
I don't know. Iran, what's the boot camp? The D for D. I think you might be referring to the sort of like standard table stakes onboarding experience of every Intuit employee. Iran, I'm guessing. So earlier I talked about, yes, I got it. All right. So earlier in the intro, I talked a little bit about what it means to be design driven. And at Intuit, it means that everyone thinks like a designer. Well, you don't just join Intuit thinking like a designer. I certainly didn't. I joined Intuit from a startup and I didn't know anything. So I actually feel like at Intuit is where I got my master's in design thinking. And the way we do this at scale is basically when new folks join the company, every single employee goes through a design for delight sort of, I don't want to say training, but we go through the methodology and what it means to use design thinking. Every employee does a series of follow me homes with a small group. If you don't know what a follow me home is, it's when you basically go hang out with a customer for a while and just see how they do things. What makes them tick? How are they running their businesses? What are some workarounds they've created? That sort of thing. Just to really get close to customers and understand what their worlds are really like. So we all participate in follow me homes. And on top of that, we have internal trainings that you can take. I've taken several innovation catalyst trainings, we call them, but they're basically just like intensive to figure out, to basically teach you how to be a better designer and facilitator. What am I missing, Joachim? I feel like there's so much. It's just like it's in my body. It's hard to like break it out.
No, totally. I'll just add a couple of things. The first is that we think about this stuff at multiple levels of skill, right? So for some folks coming in, they're like, I haven't had this experience. I really want to get a sense of like, how do I talk to customer and how do I think about working that into my design process? That's new to me. Like, show me a script, right? Teach me how to do this. And for teams like that, or for employees like that, we have relatively formalized, like, well, here's some steps you can take and here are the resources to do it. And then there are folks who've been doing this for years, right? In many different kinds. They've called it design thinking, they've called it something else. Like pick your name of the process. It doesn't matter. Like we're not very religious about it. All that matters is, are you getting close to customers? Are you actually seeing the breadth of their behaviors and exploring the breadth of designs and ideas and then narrowing back on, well, what are the right directions to take and why are we narrowing on these things? And so what's nice about the way we do it is like, if you need that structure, it's there and you can get trained up and there's a shared culture around it, whether or not you're a designer. And if you had a lot of experience in this and you're worried about, well, do I have to follow the one Intuit way, capital W, like this is the religion of Intuit. Like, it's not really like that. It's more about the principles and the mindset around it. So that's one thing. And the other thing I'll add that's often, I think we forget about is just the resources. So tomorrow, if I want to be able to get inspiration for how to go about the next step of a design with, the designer and I are working together and we want to evolve even just a small flow, or like the entire information structure of part of the product. We have the money available to pay customers to talk to us, to say, take an hour, we'll pay you, $100, and we're gonna go deep with our design and prototypes. We have part of the company that will help us even reach out to customers if we don't have time to do it ourselves. We can do it ourselves. We also have a research team that can go deep with us and partner if we want to really go deep on something and not just do it ourselves. And so I think it's something that's often forgotten about is a lot of companies talk about, well, get close to customers. And it's like a really nice idea, but then they're too busy like launching product every day to actually do that kind of thing. And they don't have the resources. So what's been nice about Intuit is that they kind of put their money where their mouth is, right? And actually make it possible. There's processes there, the culture is there, the funds are available, and the actual tools are available. And that's kind of amazing. So that's the other bit I would just add to make it real.
Thank you
we
so
have
much.
a banking. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah,
No,
so we have the banking question from Olivia. She wants to know what our business model is around banking, which is a great question, and we're not going to drop that one. I'll just give you the quick answer, Olivia, and then we can follow up directly if you really want to get down to the details. I can also forward you to our finance people. Basically, we are, when we do the bank, I don't know how much you're into the nerdy fintech stuff, but we partner with another company that provides banking services, like the actual guts of banking. And there's all sorts of aspects of the money moving in and money moving out, where we share the cost of money moving around the system, kind of like the way Visa shares costs with Chase Bank, shares costs with like whatever TransUnion, whoever moves money globally, who shares costs with any other small company that has the technology interface for someone to use, all that kind of stuff. And it can get pretty complicated. So when we do these partnerships, part of what's going on is understanding from an experience perspective, how do we support the customer? So how do they actually have the capability to have a great digital experience? And when they need to get support for something like they would in a traditional bank, where do they go? How do they do it? Do they come to us? Do they go to the banking partner? That kind of thing. Because it's a branded Intuit experience. It's not a branded XYZ bank experience. So that's happening on the experience side. And at the same time, you have the finance teams and partnership teams figuring out what are the constraints of what we can do with this partner, given how complicated the money can be for like every time a dollar transfers one direction or the other, depending if it comes from which party, that kind of stuff. And you can be sure that our partners team figure out the business model for that to make sure it's sustainable. And then given that we understand what can we do from an experience perspective on the other side. So I won't bore, I feel like I'm gonna put people to sleep, but it's for sure stuff we have to work out. The last thing I'll just say about that is it's hard to do. It's hard to make it all happen. It's like really hard to make it all happen at the same time. And that's a good thing. Because we're willing to do it, not many people can follow, not many companies can follow, because it is just that hard. And so we have our competitors and we have the space we want to play in. And we're sort of willing to jump after this like nearly impossible thing that we brought to life recently. So fantastic question.
So guys, I think we have to finish by now. We're almost at time. I want to thank you so much, Shawna and Joachim. It's been an excellent talk. Thank you for sharing some of your best practices with us. And I hope we'll hear more about the Israeli Intuit team soon enough.
thank you so much for having us.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Good day. Good evening.
Everyone, bye.